Wealthy socialite Simone lives in a grand mansion with her third husband, Carl, a successful art gallery owner. She believes she has the perfect life, wealth, status, and a devoted husband until one fateful night at a party when she discovers the truth. Simone receives an anonymous envelope containing photos of Carl passionately kissing another man, shattering her illusion of a perfect marriage. Furious, she confronts Carl and demands he leave immediately. However, instead of leaving, Carl attempts suicide by overdosing on pills. Despite her anger, Simone calls an ambulance. When concerned neighbors gather outside, she quickly covers up the situation, claiming Carl simply fell down the stairs. It is then that she realizes her jealous neighbor, Wanda, was the one who sent the incriminating photos. Enraged, Simone lunges at Wanda but is held back by the paramedics. After Carl is taken to the hospital, Tommy Hart, the teenage son of Simone's best friend, Naomi, arrives to console her. He admits he saw the photos and, in a moment of passion, tries to kiss her. Though flattered, Simone gently turns him down, reminding him that he is still underage. As he leaves, Tommy confesses that he has been in love with her for years and assures her that he will be 18 in just 2 days. Simone visits Carl in the hospital and makes it clear that she still wants a divorce, but he can stay in the house until their daughter's wedding in July. Later, she brings Carl home and helps him recover, only to discover hidden pills under a chair, realizing he faked his suicide attempt. Furious, she tries to throw him out again, but Carl blackmails her, threatening to expose his homosexuality to her social circle. Knowing how much Simone values her reputation, she reluctantly agrees to let him stay. To Simone's surprise, her friend Naomi Hart confesses that she has known about Carl's infidelity for over a year, though she is unaware of his true orientation. Feeling betrayed by both Carl and Naomi, Simone begins an affair with Tommy, now a legal adult. At first, she hesitates when he takes her to a makeshift van, but after they kiss, passion takes over, and things quickly heat up. Simone tells Tommy that Carl won't be leaving anytime soon. Distracted, she heads home, where Naomi reminds her about a charity event she's supposed to attend with Carl. At the event, Simone maintains her usual charm, effortlessly keeping up appearances until she spots Tommy working as a waiter, dressed in a flamenco costume. Carl mocks Tommy's outfit, while another woman compliments how handsome he looks. Naomi, however, remarks on how embarrassing it is for a 32-year-old woman to flirt with a much younger man, making Simone visibly uncomfortable. The conversation shifts to marriage, and Carl exaggerates their affection, gripping Simone's hand too tightly, making her uneasy. Noticing this, Tommy accidentally spills a plate of food onto Carl's lap, cutting off his speech. Afterward, Simone finds Tommy in the kitchen, where he has just been fired. Tommy insists he did the right thing by standing up for her against Carl's disrespect. Simone, however, tells him it's complicated. She doesn't hate Carl, and despite everything, he's not a bad husband. Still, she agrees to keep seeing Tommy, but only in secret, in the back of his van. She then returns to the ballroom, dancing with Carl as the event continues. Simone continues seeing Tommy in secret, even though their dates take place in places far from her usual haunts. One day, Tommy gives her a simple sports watch as a gift, but Simone isn't impressed. Feeling hurt, Tommy leaves her in the middle of their date. Later, Amy, Simone's engaged daughter, informs Simone and Carl that she plans to cancel her wedding to her fiancé, Brad. She explains that Brad had a fling with another woman 2 years ago when they were on a break. Carl thinks she's overreacting, but Amy refuses to listen. Meanwhile, Tommy shows up at Simone's house with flowers. Amy sees him, and to cover up their affair, Simone quickly claims that Tommy heard about her conflict with Brad and wants to ask Amy out. To Simone's surprise, Tommy plays along and agrees to the date, intentionally trying to make Simone jealous. That evening, Amy can't find her car keys before heading out to meet Tommy. Assuming Simone hid them to sabotage the date and push her back toward Brad, Amy lashes out. She declares she doesn't want to marry Brad and end up miserable like Simone, who has already been through 3 failed marriages. Just then, Carl steps in, sharing his thoughts on love, that it isn't meant to be perfect. Simone has a realization about her true feelings for Tommy. She rushes to interrupt Amy and Tommy's date, not to stop them, but to reconcile Amy and Brad. She also makes amends with Tommy, showing her commitment by finally wearing the watch he gave her. Simone and Tommy get lost on their way to a motel in a rough neighborhood. When Simone asks for directions, a police officer mistakes her for a prostitute, forcing them to explain their affair and reconsider their meeting arrangements. The next day, Carl overhears Simone arguing with someone over the phone and begins to suspect she's having an affair, though she continues to deny it. Just then, Naomi arrives at their doorstep to discuss Tommy. She tells Simone that Tommy has been sneaking out at all hours, so she signed him up for a housekeeping job to water neighbors' plants and keep him occupied. Taking advantage of this, Simone and Tommy start meeting in the empty houses he maintains. However, one day, Joyce, Simone's neighbor, unexpectedly returns home early. Tommy rushes to intercept her, making up an excuse to keep her out of the bedroom. While Simone is forced to call Carl for help, Carl arrives, causing a distraction by crashing into Naomi's car, allowing Simone to escape unnoticed. However, Carl now discovers Simone has been having an affair with Tommy. Rather than reacting with jealousy, Carl remains indifferent. Simone feels humiliated, realizing that Carl never truly loved her as a husband. Simone reminds Carl about their divorce after Amy's wedding and informs him that she has already hired a lawyer. Later, Simone and Carl join Amy for dinner to meet Brad's family. They promise to buy Amy and Brad a big house. Simone's lawyer calls, and Amy accidentally discovers that her parents are getting divorced. Worried about Brad's conservative family, she begs them to keep it a secret. At the restaurant, Simone spots Hector, her favorite stylist, who mysteriously dropped her as a client. Meanwhile, Carl excuses himself from the table, seemingly avoiding Brad's family. Curious, Simone goes looking for him and catches Carl and Hector making out in the men's bathroom, revealing the real reason Hector stopped working with her. Before Simone can react, Amy rushes in and pleads with them to return to the table to avoid ruining her plan to impress her future in-laws. Simone agrees but remains cold toward Carl throughout dinner. Tensions escalate when Brad's mother subtly criticizes Simone, suggesting that as a divorcee, she should treat her third husband with more kindness. Furious, Simone blurts out that Carl is gay. In retaliation, Carl exposes Simone's affair with Tommy. Brad's family is shocked, and the situation worsens when Brad's sister confesses her romantic feelings for Amy. The dinner ends in chaos. Back at the mansion, Carl and Simone have a heated argument. Carl finally admits that he loved Hector but ended the relationship some time ago. Determined to understand the truth, Simone later visits Hector to confront him about his relationship with Carl. The next morning, Simone wakes Carl up to remind him that she still wants a divorce but hopes they can part on good terms. To support him, she invites Hector over and encourages Carl to go on a date with him, even helping him choose an outfit. Meanwhile, Tommy visits Simone and gifts her an expensive brooch. When Naomi notices a large withdrawal from his account, she suspects he might be buying drugs and confides in Simone. Curious, Simone looks up the brooch's price and, realizing its true value, tries to return it to Tommy at his track practice. However, someone sees her but doesn't recognize her, reporting the encounter to Naomi. This further fuels Naomi's suspicion that Tommy is involved in drug dealing. Determined to find out the truth, Naomi breaks into Tommy's room to read his journal. While doing so, she calls Simone, who rushes over to stop her. Thinking quickly, Simone diverts Naomi's attention by revealing that Carl is gay and manages to snatch the journal from her hands before she can see a portrait of Simone inside. Just then, Tommy arrives home and angrily confronts his mother for invading his privacy. Later, Tommy asks Simone to travel to Europe with him. Though hesitant at first, she agrees to consider it. Meanwhile, Carl learns he has AIDS but chooses not to tell Simone. Simone and Tommy discuss their upcoming trip to Europe, but when Tommy admits he can't afford the lavish experiences Simone envisions, she suggests he sell the brooch and find a more creative way to show his love for her. During a dinner party, a woman approaches Simone in the bathroom, introducing herself as Carl's doctor's wife and a nurse at his practice. She reluctantly reveals that Carl has AIDS. Stunned, Simone confronts Carl after the party, and he confirms his diagnosis. Realizing Carl needs her, Simone decides to cancel her trip with Tommy to take care of him. Heartbroken and angry, Tommy steals a bottle of wine from Simone's home and speeds off in his car, only to get into an accident. At the hospital, Naomi discovers that Tommy has gotten a tattoo of Simone on his leg, finally learning the truth about their affair. Naomi, furious, spreads a vicious rumor that Simone has been grooming Tommy for years and also exposes Carl's sexuality. The gossip spreads quickly, and at the country club, all eyes are on Simone and Carl. In the middle of dinner, they are asked to leave. Outraged, Simone throws her wine in the manager's face before storming out with Carl. Determined to do more damage, Naomi arrives at the mansion and threatens them, revealing that she knows Carl has AIDS. She even tells Amy, who, influenced by Naomi's words, insists that Carl shouldn't attend her wedding. Naomi calls everyone in their social circle, turning them against the couple. When Simone confronts Amy for abandoning Carl, she declares that if Carl isn't welcome, she won't attend the wedding either. One day, Simone and Carl wake up to find their mansion vandalized with hateful graffiti, while their neighbors gather to gawk. When Carl suddenly becomes dizzy and nearly collapses, Simone begs for help, but their neighbors hesitate, fearing his illness. Only their loyal gardener steps in to assist. At the hospital, Simone finds Naomi waiting and pleads with her to stop dragging Carl into their feud. Naomi remains unmoved, vowing to continue her attacks. However, Tommy overhears the conversation and, disgusted by his mother's cruelty, cuts ties with her. Blinded by rage, Naomi gets into her car and waits outside the hospital. The moment Simone steps out, Naomi floors the gas pedal and drives straight into her. Tommy intervenes just in time, saving Simone as Naomi crashes into another car, injuring herself. Word spreads about Naomi's reckless actions, and she is shunned by her high society friends. Tommy offers to cancel his trip to Europe to stay with Simone while she cares for Carl, but she insists he go, encouraging him to explore new relationships and opportunities. 6 months later, with Carl's condition worsening and their insurance revoked, Simone is forced to sell her art collection to cover his medical expenses. Meanwhile, Carl secretly begins hoarding sleeping pills, determined to end his suffering on his own terms. When Simone discovers them, she pleads with him to keep fighting. However, after witnessing another AIDS patient deteriorate in agony, she ultimately decides to help Carl pass peacefully. The two share a final dance before Simone administers a lethal dose of medication, granting Carl a painless death. Decades later, Taylor and Eli meet Simone when they move into the mansion. Now a dedicated philanthropist in AIDS research, Simone has devoted her life to honoring Carl's memory. Meanwhile, Tommy has become a renowned painter, fulfilling the potential Simone once saw in him.